So Bobby Lee has been completely crushing it lately. His podcast with Andrew Santino, Bad Friends, has exploded and is now considered one of the best comedy podcasts out there. It gets over 18 million views on YouTube alone, which is insane. For reference, this is how much Theo Von and YMH Studios get every month, and that is with the help of Joe Rogan. They're selling out theaters, and this is arguably the biggest Bobby Lee has ever been. So it's really shocking that he's willing to go to these online dating shows and essentially go through the painful breakup that happened between him and Khalyla almost a full year and a half ago. Now, I get that they have to address the elephant in the room, and they did pretty well, all things considered, but the timing of this video was very interesting because recently Jada and Will Smith have gone viral over some wild drama that happened in their relationship. And for some reason, this kind of has a similar feel to that, even though it's not that extreme.
I'm Khalyla. I co-host a podcast with Bobby Lee called Tiger Belly. He is my best friend, and he also used to eat my
Muchos gracias.
All right, we're gonna start the game. So we're here to play truth or drink. If you don't want to answer the question, we're gonna do ginger shots because you're sober and not drinking. So go ahead and start the first question.
Why the hell did we break up?
Already? That's the first question?
It's too
We start hot, you know?
Many reasons, but ultimately because we nailed the friendship, but we lost the romance.
What do you think? Do you feel the same?
You know, can I just say something? I love Arby's.
Okay.
You know, the roast beef sandwich? Oh, God. Now, I'm not gonna say that looks like Arby's. Is that where you think your mind's going?
Yeah.
No, that's not where I'm going. After 10 years of eating Arby's.
Yeah, like the
And then you're like, one day, you're like, I want Italian.
I could have stayed with green barbecue.
Really?
Yeah, but you wanted outside Arby's.
Yeah, I wanted to switch it up a little bit, you know what I mean?
Sure, Bobby Lee is mostly joking around and having fun, but I do wonder whose idea it was to go on that show and talk about a breakup that happened so long ago and just leave out the nasty parts of it. And a lot of fans were confused, asking why Bobby Lee would sign up to do a show like that. And I think it's pretty simple. Khalyla essentially ruined her own reputation within the comedy podcast world and is no longer well received. For example, last time that she was on Bad Friends podcast, her episode got completely destroyed with dislikes, and the fans were very passionate about letting them know that they didn't want her back. And that is essentially as close to home as it gets. The backlash was so bad that Andrew Santino and Bobby Lee actually had to address it on the next episode.
Like, look, here's something that we can address on the show. We had Khalyla fill in for you.
I want to talk about this.
Everybody who watched it that had something negative to say didn't understand that fucking vibe, because I think what you can communicate it better, but the idea that people are throwing stones at Khalyla is wild, because also they'd be like, way to go, Santino. like I had anything to do with it.
Listen, I was in a jam. I was out of town, and this production that I was working on, they needed me for extra days. I couldn't get back in town in time, and she filled in for me last minute.
She did a great job.
And she did a great job, and number one. Number two, I want people to know that she's always going to be a part of my life.
So because of that, they're now trying to tap into different audiences and going to the different shows, which forces them to put up with those type of questions. I'm sure it was the production team that came up with those mind-blowing and interesting questions, but at the end of the day, they probably knew what they signed up for. And look, you got to give them some credit, because the fact that they have been able to keep that business and relationship going for that long is pretty hard. And the fact that it was peaceful and they're still friends shows that they're very mature. But the way that they're talking about it again almost makes it seem like they're trying to rewrite history, because obviously they won't go into the nasty details of the breakup and every single bad thing that each person did. But then why bring it up at all? Because they can't really explain all of that in a 10-minute video. And once again, similar to the Jada and Will Smith situation, it makes it seem like they're bringing up the relationship again to try and spark something up and to try and expose Bobby Lee on a massive channel.
Oh, I know the answer to this. How quickly did you hook up with someone after we broke up?
A year?
A year? You hit the ground running.
No, a year.
No, but didn't you go to that strip club at noon? Did you go to a strip club at noon?
Yeah, but that was a job. That's not cheating.
We're not asking about cheating.
Oh, what was the question? What was the question?
You just outed yourself.
Wait.
All right, let's have you ask the next question.
Are we not doing well? I mean...
No, you're doing amazing.
Okay. What's wrong with me? Yeah, go ahead. Be honest.
All the things that I'm gonna say are wrong with you are wrong with me as well, which is we both come from a very traumatized household. So we can be very chaotic people. You're the Tasmanian devil.
Yeah.
Oh,
Go ahead.
did you ever see yourself marrying me?
Yes. Oh, yes. I tell myself marrying you, but also, it could have been dreadful. I mean, there was always like, in my gut, I was like, I'm gonna marry Khalyla. I knew it in, are you crying?
A little bit. You guys are horrible.
What kind of show is this?
Obviously, Bobby Lee was carrying the show the whole time, making jokes and making it fun, while Khalyla was taking it too serious and going into how she sees Bobby Lee as a male anglerfish. By the way, this is what that looks like, which is a little bit weird. And also, I don't want to be that guy, but she was basically trying to paint Bobby Lee as a bad guy because of how soon he got with another girl after the breakup, which is completely insane because keep in mind that while they were still together, while her and Bobby Lee were still technically together, she was seeing other people. But then once they officially break up and then Bobby Lee sees another girl, it's all of a sudden a bad thing and Bobby Lee is outing himself. What? And funny enough, it's actually working. If you look at the comments, most people are siding with Khalyla and blaming Bobby Lee for what happened. And look, I'm not defending Bobby Lee. I'm not saying he didn't do anything wrong, but Khalyla is definitely not innocent in this situation. And they also believe that the only reason why Khalyla is hated is because she is the woman in the relationship on a podcast that has a majority male audience. But the truth is that it was her inability to take criticism and the fact that she would lash out at fans or haters whenever they would make fun of her.
What I love about you, right, is that you're hot, you're smart, you're very empathetic to the world, but you're also cool, you know. I'm just saying you have all of that.
Thank you.
Yeah. I just didn't want to anymore.
That's so true, though.
Yeah.
It's so true.
That's so
Thank
true.
you for saying that. I wish that you had said that when you felt it.
Yeah.
Because then it would have saved us the last couple of years of trying to figure out why we weren't. If you'd just be like, I want new Khalyla, I would have been like, I get that. I get that.
Okay.
Again, they might be joking around and this might be a bit to promote Tiger Belly, but if she's being real, for her to say that if Bobby Lee would have simply said to her that he wanted to see other people 2 years ago, that it would have saved them 2 years of chaos, that is completely insane. Because Bobby Lee agreeing to being in an open relationship with Khalyla was something that he did to try and avoid the breakup that was coming. Now, Khalyla claims that they felt that romance, and I'm pretty sure that was a huge part of the breakup, but it wasn't until 2 months after that they went on the H3 podcast live that they officially broke up. Keep in mind that the reason why Khalyla wanted to go on the H3 podcast was to try and get ahead of Brendan Schaub exposing her, but the whole thing completely backfired and she ended up exposing herself and dragging Bobby Lee along the way.
One of the threats was to expose something about me, about, and it was a very specific thing about it.
We might as well talk about that
about a
now.
time, about something that I had been doing while Bobby and I were broken up.
Okay.
So we had an open thing.
Just take it all from them.
Okay, so we had an open thing, right, so that they can't use this against us.
Yeah, just put it all on the table.
So we had this open thing, and
you guys had an open relationship.
Yeah,
right?
Okay.
I was
and
with
Khalyla saw somebody in Hawaii.
a lovely person.
Lovely guy. I know the
In
guy.
fact, Bobby hand-selected him, literally.
Yeah,
he was
yeah.
like,
Okay.
this guy's
Right.
amazing.
Right,
Somebody
so,
that we could trust.
So you arranged something for her.
I didn't arrange it,
But
right?
you
But she
approved
asked,
him.
"Is this going to be okay?" And I said, "Go ahead and do it."
Okay,
right?
interesting.
And this is something that
This is
my
after-
therapist
yeah.
knew about. We talked about it
In
in couples
therapy.
counseling, this and that. So this is something. So it happened, right?
Melly,
But I
yeah.
do have to say that after it went on for a while, I didn't feel comfortable about it.
Okay.
And I've now looked at her maybe 4 months ago, and I said, I don't want to do this anymore, and let's go stay monogamous again.
Oh, this was happening up until recently.
Up until very
Recently,
Oh, okay.
right?
Okay.
So,
Interesting.
The whole thing caused a lot of hate and a lot of backlash for Khalyla. So then, 2 months later, they announced their official breakup, which it actually helped to save Tiger Belly. Before that, a lot of fans were fleeing. going to Bad Friends, going somewhere else, basically unhappy with the way that things had unfolded between Khalyla and Bobby Lee. So then that's when they did the official breakup. Bobby Lee went on an insane breakup tour, explaining to everybody what happened and how amazing Khalyla was, essentially doing damage control. And it worked. I think Bobby Lee single-handedly saved the Tiger Belly show, because a lot of people were speculating whether the podcast would end or if it would continue after everything that happened. And I mean, it survived. And also, that old argument that Khalyla is only hated because she's a woman in the space gets completely thrown out the window when you look at the fact that Bad Friends, which is a massive podcast, they've had women on the show since day one. And they're great. They actually add to the show and make it better. So it's not simply just because she's a woman in the space that she's hated, but she's hated because she's essentially the female version of Brendan Schaub. And look, Brendan Schaub has had a tough year, but he's recently made some changes. Who knows if they're for the long term or not. For example, he has acknowledged some of the personal flaws that he has and even faced criticism when he actually showed up at Skankfest. Not only that, but he also admitted that the reason why he hasn't done the Mothership, Joe Rogan's Club, is that he isn't good enough and is not trying to recreate the Comedy Store, which is pretty wild.
That's like the same thing you'll see in my comments or maybe in yours on Red, like, oh, why aren't you playing the Mothership, Brendan? I don't deserve to be there. And me and Rogan have had this conversation. I'm not there yet. There's guys like you, like to me, and I'm not just saying, Big J's one top 5 doing it right now. So, yeah. I am... His special was insane. So I see that stuff. I see Tim Dillon. I see Mark Norman. Those are
Louis J. Gomez, Dave Smith, all these guys.
100%. 100%.
He was going to get to us.
Yeah, I was going to get to you.
Give him time.
He was
going to make it down. He had to go through like 30 more comics.
I'll get there. I'll get there. But so I shouldn't be there. I don't want to go there and get backlash. Like, I want, when they invite me to be a headliner, I'll know it's my time.
All right,
I don't want to recreate the Comedy Store for me. I don't want
No. Stand up lets you know. Stand up lets you know.
At the end of the day, Tiger Belly is still a massive podcast, and it's pretty good. Obviously, Bad Friends is where it's at. But it was a pretty interesting video. It was a little bit weird, but I recommend you watch that video of them talking about the breakup and see what you think. Again, they both did well, but for some reason, it just feels like Khalyla is trying to take advantage of the whole Jada and Will Smith situation. I could be wrong though, and there's always a chance for a comeback. I do wonder who will see that comeback first, if it'll be Brendan Schaub or Khalyla, because I mean, Chris D'Elia is still selling out theaters. He still has a show going on and is doing very well. So I think it would be fair for either Khalyla or possibly Brendan Schaub to see a massive comeback. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Leave a like and subscribe to support the channel. Dislike if you didn't like the video, but that is all we have for today. See ya.